U.S. East Coast blanketed in orange haze caused by Canadian wildfires. UK orders China to close secret police stations on British soil. Bank of Canada hikes rates to 22-year high. Japan, Australia and the US to fund undersea cable connection in Micronesia. New US spy satellites to track Chinese and Russian threats in orbit. Hong Kong to ban protest song mistaken for national anthem. China spied on Hong Kong activists using TikTok. Slovenia elected a seat on the UN Security Council.
Hello, I'm Amber. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It is Thursday, June 8th, and here are your top stories. Schools across the U.S. East Coast canceled outdoor activities, flights were halted, and millions of Americans were urged to stay indoors on Wednesday as smoke from Canadian wildfires drifted south, blanketing cities in a thick yellowish haze. The U.S. National Weather Service issued air quality alerts for virtually the entire Atlantic seaboard. Health officials in states from Vermont to South Carolina and as far west as Ohio and Kansas warned residents that spending time outdoors could cause health problems.
The reduced visibility caused by the haze forced the Federal Aviation Administration to slow or halt some flights into New York City at LaGuardia International Airport and Newark Liberty International Airport. According to AirNow, which sets 100 as unhealthy and 300 as hazardous, in some areas, the air quality index was well above 400. New York had the worst air quality reading in the world on Wednesday afternoon at 342, about double the reading for chronically polluted cities such as Dubai, 168, and Delhi, 164.
UK Security Minister Tom Tugendhat said on Tuesday that the UK government has ordered China to shut down secret police stations operating on British soil. Tugendhat said, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office has told the Chinese embassy that any functions related to such police service stations in the UK are unacceptable and that they must not operate in any form. He said the Chinese embassy has subsequently responded that all such stations have closed permanently.
Tugendhat said on Tuesday, British police have investigated claims made by the non-governmental human rights organization Safeguard Defenders that such police stations were operating at 3 British sites. He added, I can confirm that they have not, to date, identified any evidence of illegal activity on behalf of the Chinese state across these sites. He said, we assess that police and public scrutiny have had a suppressive impact on any administrative functions these sites may have had.
The Bank of Canada on Wednesday hiked its overnight rate to a 22-year high of 4.75%. The central bank said surprisingly strong consumer spending, a rebound in demand for services, a pickup in housing activity, and a tight labor market show excess demand is more persistent than anticipated. The bank noted an uptick in inflation in April and the fact that 3-month measures of core inflation remained high, that concerns have increased that CPI inflation could get stuck materially above the 2% target.
Given this backdrop, the Governing Council determined that monetary policy was not sufficiently restrictive to bring supply and demand back into balance and return inflation sustainably to the 2% target. Money markets see a 60% chance of another rate hike in July and have fully priced in further tightening by September. The BOC said it would continue to assess economic indicators going forward to see if they are consistent with achieving the inflation target.
Japan announced Tuesday that it joined the United States and Australia in signing a $95 million undersea cable project that will connect East Micronesia island nations to improve networks in the Indo-Pacific region. According to the Japanese Foreign Ministry, the approximately 2,250-kilometer undersea cable will connect the state of Kosrae in the Federated States of Micronesia, Tarawa in Kiribati, and Nauru to the existing cable landing point located in Pohnpei in Micronesia.
In a joint statement, the parties said the next steps involve a final survey and design and manufacturing of the cable, whose width is about that of a garden hose. Completion is expected around 2025. NEC Corp., which won the contract after a competitive tender, said the cable will connect more than 100,000 people across the 3 Pacific countries with high-speed, high-quality, and more secure communications for residents, businesses and governments in the region.
I always needed time on my own. I never thought I could be here.
I take your blessings with your heartaches too. It's so easy and so wonderful to know it's you.
学习，一切从今天开始。Funday 英语。
The U.S. Space Force is set to launch a constellation of satellites this summer to track Chinese or Russian space vehicles that can potentially disable or damage orbiting objects. According to the U.S. Space Force, the network, dubbed Silent Barker, would be the first of its kind to complement ground-based sensors and low Earth orbit satellites. The satellites will be placed about 35,400 kilometers above the Earth and at the same speed it rotates, known as geosynchronous orbit.
This summer, US Space Force is set to launch satellites to track Chinese or Russian space vehicles.
The U.S. Space Force is developing the satellites with the National Reconnaissance Office, NRO. The NRO said the Silent Barker satellite constellation is scheduled for launch after July on board an Atlas V booster operated by the Boeing company Lockheed Martin Corp's United Launch Alliance. The launch date will be announced 30 days in advance on Facebook and Twitter. The Space Force and NRO wouldn't detail how many satellites would make up the Silent Barker constellation.
Hong Kong has gone to court to ban the song Glory to Hong Kong, which became the unofficial anthem of the 2019 mass protests and has been played in error at several sporting events since then instead of China's national anthem. Hong Kong's Department of Justice said it had applied for the court order to ban the performance, broadcast, sale, or distribution of the song, including on the internet, on national security grounds because it had been mistakenly presented as the territory's national anthem repeatedly.
On Tuesday, the department said, "This has not only insulted the national anthem but also caused serious damage to the country and the HKSAR." HKSAR is the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. The composer of Glory to Hong Kong remains anonymous, but the Cantonese language song emerged as a rallying call during the 2019 protests with the lyrics, "Break now the dawn. Liberate our Hong Kong. In common breath, the revolution of our times," which echoed the protesters' calls for change.
A former ByteDance executive has claimed in a lawsuit China's Communist Party can access user data collected by TikTok owner ByteDance through a God credential that it used to monitor and track Hong Kong activists and protesters in 2018. In a court filing, Yintao Roger Yu, a former head of engineering at ByteDance in the United States, said that a special committee in Beijing had a backdoor to firewalls erected by ByteDance to protect user data and use this access to spy on users in Hong Kong.
The national security law is a very obvious example of CCP's disrespect for.
Yu said in the filing lodged this week in a San Francisco court, protesters, supporters, and civil rights activists' device identifiers were tracked in addition to their network information, SIM card identifications, and IP addresses. Yu said the existence of the God credential is well known among ByteDance executives and directly contradicts promises they have made to legislators in the US and other countries who are debating whether to ban TikTok over national security concerns.
Slovenia soundly defeated Belarus on Tuesday for a seat on the UN Security Council starting in January. The race between the two members of the UN's East European group was the only contested election for 5 seats on the UN's most powerful body. In the secret ballot election in the 193-member General Assembly, Slovenia received 153 votes, while Belarus got 38 votes. The 4 other countries elected to the Security Council to serve 2-year terms were Guyana, Sierra Leone, Algeria, and South Korea.
I would like to say that it's a very important day for our country.
The 5 new council members will start their terms on January 1st, replacing 5 countries, Albania, Brazil, Gabon, Ghana and United Arab Emirates, whose 2-year terms end on December 31st. They will join the 5 veto-wielding permanent members of the Council, the United States, Russia, China, United Kingdom and France, and the 5 countries elected last year. Ecuador, Japan, Malta, Mozambique, and Switzerland. Slovenia will be joining the Council for the second time since 1998-99.
Now let's take a look at the vocabulary of the news of orange haze caused by Canadian wildfires. Number 1, halt, 停止,停下. The police officer raised his hand to halt the oncoming traffic. Number 2, drift, 船只海水空气的流动,漂流. The boat began to drift aimlessly in the open sea. Number 3, virtually, 实际上,几乎,事实上. She is virtually unstoppable when it comes to solving complex puzzles. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Amber, your host, and I'll see you next time.